thanks to AI, we are seeing that a lot of first, I think post COVID, we have seen a lot of changes in the kind of requirements that we used to get earlier. Like our business was heavily dependent on full-time permanent hiring. But post-COVID, things changed. There was a wave when companies hired a lot, and then came a wave when companies were like letting go, and I think in that somewhere in that mix, some of the companies actually stopped giving out the full-time permanent opportunities to vendors.
Welcome to the Growth Experts Podcast. I'm your host, Derek Collin. Today, I have a very special guest. Her name is Sheena, and she is the founder and CEO of HireCole. How are you?
I'm doing good, Derek. How are you? Thank you
Good.
for inviting me here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm excited to proceed with this podcast today. So, tell me, can you share a bit about yourself and how your role fits into the bigger picture over at HireCole?
Yes. So I have been into staffing industry for the last now almost 18 years. And for the good, I would say 16 years, I was working for different companies as an employee. So I did start as a trainee, as a trainee recruiter, and then moved up to being the recruiter, senior recruiter, team lead, and then obviously the account manager. And that at some point I became the business head at two different companies. After having so much of experience and visibility at a point into the management and how the actual recruitment companies, especially these offshore recruitment companies, operate. So let me give you a little bit clarity on where we are and who are we working with and how are we working with. We are a team of recruiters sitting in India. All the recruitment activities are happening from India, and these activities are happening for the clients that are based in the US and Canada, for the companies that are based in the US and Canada. Now, these could be the local companies, like only US based companies or Canada based companies, or these could be very well any multinational company also. So, we are providing the recruitment services for the companies there, and we are helping them find a local talent there. So, to understand it clear, we are only the recruiters sitting offshore, but the clients and the candidates, everything is happening there on site within the US and Canada. And apart from that, we have entered into India recruitment market also. As I said, that I started my career with the US recruitment itself. So that was my forte. India market is a lot different. The culture is different, of course. The dynamics of working with the customers over here is different. And how I started this, I reached to a point where I got started getting the visibility into the operations side of the US staffing companies. At a point, my clients only started kind of suggesting me initially, but then sort of later on motivating me also and pushing me to start my own venture, of course, with their guidance and help. For them, it was like that, Sheena, whenever you're changing the company, it's not that you're working with or that they are working with me only. It's that your competitor, that is of all these years, you're actually adding more competition to yourself when you're changing the company. So it is better that why don't you start your own organization now, because you have got so much of understanding of this industry, and obviously now being into the managerial roles also, you know how to manage things or operate things. So we can support you there in the US and Canada with whatever is required to set up the organization, and we can actually work as partners. I mean, till date now we are working with them, with those clients, and like with one of the clients we have been working with them for like more than 10 plus years. So for me, sitting here in India, a lot of people here ask me that how is it possible that you're doing recruitment, for the companies there in the US and Canada, why you're sitting here in India? How are you getting new clients? And, how do you find candidates, local talents? Not that I'm sending anybody from India. So there are a lot of questions when I talk about our business here locally in India itself. People who are not aware of this side of recruitment or the cross boundary recruitment, they usually ask this, how is it possible? Even my family at times, what do you do? I mean, you keep working in the night, because obviously we have to match the US time zone, so we work in the Eastern zone. So that's a night shift for us, for my entire team. So initially it was very difficult to explain to them what are we doing, why are we doing. But of course, it's been now 17 years and things have settled. And at this stage, we are looking to grow, to add more clients there in the US and Canada. And yeah, I'm happy that, we connected, and I'm sure that probably this podcast might help put out the word and put out the word for our company, especially out there.
That's good. Yeah. So just US and Canada only? What about the UK or any other European territories?
Yes, we have worked with our clients that are in the UK and in some parts of Europe, but we have been only assisting them with permanent hiring, because to be supporting them in the contractual side, you need to have your own physical presence over there, as in, the company presence over there, and you have to understand their laws, you have to understand their payroll system and everything. And of course, it's not that easy to run the payroll in any region. You need to have some understanding, some expertise yourself first. But because my expertise so far has been into this domain, so I'm very, I would say, comfortable. And the US, Canada itself is a huge marketplace for recruitment staffing. But yes, we don't say no if it is a permanent hiring, because we know how to source across the regions, unless there is a language barrier, a local language. Sometimes we do get requirements in their local language, which obviously we can't understand, then we have to translate and everything. We try to stay away from that, unless we, want to go ahead into that direction and would want to make our base there and grow there. Otherwise, we are comfortable right now in these zones. And I think there's still a lot of potential that we haven't yet tapped in the US, Canada itself, that we would want to go after and do the best there also.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. Well, it sounds like you're looking to expand into, more territory throughout the US. Is there specific locations or all of the US?
Across the US, we have worked with our clients. As I said, that we are working with the clients that are multinational companies also. So they do have their presence across the US also. So we work with their different hiring managers in different cities, different zones. If required, if a client is based in Arizona, we may assign a recruiter or hire recruiters who would dedicatedly be working in that time zone, so that, they can speak to the candidates and be there on the client calls also. So far we have been providing our services across the US. But if I have to, give the weightage of our client existence, so at this time, it would be mainly on the East Coast. And I think that is why we have been mainly following the Eastern time zone working times here in India also, because most of our business comes from the clients that are based there.
Awesome. Okay. So, what does a typical day look like for you as a founder?
Well, it is important for me to be in the office. As you know, that we started in 2020. So it was right in the COVID situation. So obviously we were remote. But last year in 2025, mid 2025, we moved into the office. So my goal is to be in the office so that I can actually give set the tone for the day for the recruiters. They should be knowing who is the priority for us today, which client or position is going to be the top most priority, and also helping them understand, probably if they haven't got any results from the previous day, so what new we need to do to, get the coverage. Here, I would like to add that our team basically focuses on the more on the quality, as opposed to having that pressure of submitting every day, mandatorily. There are some teams who probably work in a way that, that the recruiter has a set target of 2 to 3 submissions in a day. That's just kind of a set goal for them. But here it is for us to provide the quality. So even if the candidate is the recruiter is not submitting on the very first day, or maybe 2 days, obviously we get involved in terms of understanding what could be the reason. Is it that the responses are not there? Is it that they are feeling that the potential in that specific area isn't much? Do I need to go back to the client and check with the client if they're open to candidates who can relocate, or if they are open to, or if there is any other flexibility, or if there is any technology or a skill that is creating an issue for them? So
Yeah.
I think it's important for me to be involved in the process by not being hands-on, but at least understanding where do I need to get involved between client and recruiters, because my recruiters are putting in efforts, right? So maybe there is some information that isn't yet being shared or that we hadn't discussed. So being involved in the entire process, because when you have the experience, you know that there could have been a situation in the past where if I knew this earlier, I probably would have done better in my search. Sometimes we
Yeah.
get an important update after 2 days or maybe after a week.
Yeah.
So to keep that proactive communication, somewhere going on, I think that is where I need to be at this, what I see in my company right now. See, because recruiters are working in their kind of zone, right? Unless I or they come to me and we have that conversation, open conversation about the requirement or about the client, because every client is different, every hiring manager is different. There are hiring managers who will give us a detailed information over a call, maybe for 30 minutes or 40 minutes. There may be a hiring manager who would say, okay, this is what I need. So why don't you just go ahead and start looking for candidates? So you have to pull out the information from them. You have to build a conversation with such clients. So sometimes the senior recruiters are able to do it. Sometimes if it's a new client, then obviously I get involved so that, the tone is set and we all are on the same page. So even if I go back and tell the client, hey, we don't have anything for you today, the client will probably know because we have discussed the challenges already with them. So
Yeah.
the updating the client with the progress, supporting the recruiters also, if required, you show them hands-on, how it needs to be done. Even though we have senior recruiters or we have recruiters who are still in the very early stage, just sharing your knowledge with them sometimes helps them a lot, because that is how I have also learned from my seniors or my managers back then. When they used to literally come to our desk and they would say, hey, let's try this search. Let's try that
Yeah.
search. It's not the search or the keywords that you notice. You actually see how they think about the requirement and what thought process is going on in their mind when they look at a certain requirement. Maybe we are not looking at it in that way. We don't probably have that experience yet that the person probably could write their resumes or could represent themselves in this way also. So I think that
Yeah.
sharing of knowledge is very important. Sometimes it's the recruiters who come to me, hey, Sheena, I think that this is good. I will probably say, probably I don't think so. I mean, I can't see much into his profile. But he's the one or she's the one who has spoken to the person. So if they are telling me no, we feel that he is good, maybe I need to get onto the call with them. Or maybe I ask them, if he
Yeah.
and he is good, then sell it to me, because that's what I'm just going to sell to the client. So,
Yeah.
it is how well you can also explain your candidate to someone is very important. You may have I would say, an ideal candidate for the client, but if I'm not able to represent that candidate to the client in the best possible way,
Mhm.
client may just try to, look at the resume. If it is not that impressive, they may just pass on. But if I am the one and if my team is the one who has spoken with the candidate, then they know exactly what is going on. Why is this person a fit? They have some more details that are not there on the resume, because you don't always hire people just based on the resume. You have to have a chat with them,
Mhm.
and that obviously comes with experience also, who to say kind of left tick and right tick kind of before you make that call. Even recruiters have to decide, okay, this looks like a good LinkedIn profile. We basically do a lot of sourcing through LinkedIn. But again, there not everybody has put on a detailed information on their LinkedIn. So you have to understand that if there is some information that is catchy, if you feel that it is worth to make a call to the person, we always encourage our recruiters, have a conversation with the candidates. You never know. They may turn out to be like a home run candidate unless you speak
Yeah.
for them.
Yeah.
So that is
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. Awesome. So, what shifts are you currently seeing in your industry right now?
Thanks to AI, we are seeing a lot of, first, I think post COVID, we have seen a lot of changes in the kind of requirements that we used to get earlier. Like our business was heavily dependent on full-time permanent hiring. But post-COVID, things changed. There was a wave when, companies hired a lot. And then came a wave when companies were like letting go. And, and I think somewhere in that mix, some of the companies actually stopped giving out the full-time permanent opportunities to vendors. So there was that time when we had to enter into contractual market. So for the last 3 years, I would say that we have been extensively doing contractual hiring for our clients in the US and Canada. And right now, I think situation obviously is such that with AI coming into picture, there's a lot of buzz that recruiters will be replaced. Recruiters will, companies can easily now implement AI in their own organizations, and they can just going about the hiring. But I don't think that is true, because at the end of the day, if the human intuition is very important, the human judgment about a candidate is also important. Like if we are talking to a candidate, he may be he may look like a star on the resume, but when you talk to the person, he may not come across as that impressive, right? So
Yeah.
this is based on the conversations that happen. So if that don't happen, then just the AI based resume or the job descriptions, or without the actual understanding of both the requirement and the candidate, I think it's going to create more mess. So I believe that AI is there to assist, but
Mhm.
they can't really replace.
So, how has the AI trend impacted your business or business strategy? Has it impacted your
Uh,
growth or?
no, not so far. We haven't seen any such major changes, but I would say challenges have come up. See, if we say that companies are now implementing AI and or using the tools and everything, but so are candidates, right? So you get a requirement which probably is so well written, you share it with the candidate thinking that let them go through the requirement, and the next thing happens is that they come up with the resume which is exactly or 100% matched to the requirement, because they're also using the AI tool. Create my resume based on this. They just need to give the basic uh, input to the AI, and then everything comes up very polished. So again, it has made our task a little difficult, because now we have to dig deeper and deeper to understand if the experience is genuine, and to what extent, and what they actually have done with that, with the technology stack. We used to do this earlier also, but I think now it has become more profound now that we can't just deny it. Sometimes, we have had such instances where the candidates look like superstars, but then when the client got on to a call with them, it's like, okay, he doesn't know the basics also.
Yeah. So, what's working well for you now, and what's been frustrating?
Frustrating, I wouldn't say there's anything frustrating. I think we are at a stage where we do need more clients. I think it's majorly the sales part, because we have kind of been on in the sweet spot for long, and now it's I do really want to grow. It's not just about having more number of recruiters in my team or the headcount, but we really would want to grow in the kind of requirements also that we are seeing, the tech stack also. We have already started working with few clients where there are a lot of AI positions also. But again, I mean, we would want to diversify our expertise also in within the technology hiring domain itself. You don't want to always keep looking for .NET developers and Java developers and BAs and all that. You would want to, of course, you will continue looking for them also, but at the same time, you want to move in onto new upcoming technologies. AI, as I said, is already there. We're looking for AI advisor for one of our clients there in the US, and all that. But adding new clients is more important for us right now.
Yeah, business development for sure. Yeah, I hear that a lot within the industry, and especially if you're looking to grow, and companies and executive search and staffing agencies that are looking to achieve rapid growth. In terms of metrics, like when it comes to KPI or increasing your staff, recruiters, so that they can hit certain amount of numbers this year for 2026. Is there any metrics or certain applications or administrative tasks that you're looking to improve upon?
Um, See, we have now. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but we basically, as I said earlier, also that we are heavily dependent on LinkedIn for our sourcing purpose. Even though we are doing contractual hiring, we have always been LinkedIn recruiters. We kind of love that space. And with the AI also being now inculcated by LinkedIn itself, they have also released a new product, LinkedIn RPS Plus. So my goal is to basically make my recruiters more comfortable being that LinkedIn AI recruiter now. Okay, they have been lead in recruiter, they're doing really good, but I think it is to get smarter now, because you can't be thinking that let's follow the traditional way only because we're getting results. Obviously, you will get results from traditional way also because that's what we have been doing so far. But there is somebody else. There's a competition that is actually doing things quicker because they are adapting to AI. So that is one area where I see some hesitance from some of the team members. But I think it is about time because when you show them the difference in the results or the speed with which one recruiter who has adopted AI in his daily searches, the results he's getting, the time he's investing in it, I think it's about time that rest of the recruiters will also follow up. But yes, you need consistent kind of mentoring also there
Yeah.
to kind of keep them pushing ahead because you can't be in your comfort zone. Competition will otherwise, take over.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the moment you get relaxed or, become complacent, you kind of miss out on, the market share and your competitors will dominate. So you got to make sure that you don't get lazy, right?
Yes, yes, we can't afford to be lazy. It's. I have learned it hard way that recruitment is not 9 to 5 job. If you have to take calls, you have to take calls probably early in the morning also because again you are sitting in India, you working with people who are living in prominently four different time zones. So you never know who is going to call you when, and weekends or late evenings. I think you recruiter has to be always up and going. You get a requirement. I mean, back when I started my company, whenever we used to get a requirement, maybe late Friday night, it used to be Saturday morning for us basically here in India. So you would run the search. At least you would reach out to candidates. You may not probably be spending whole day or like 8 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, but at least you would do the basics. Because when on Monday you start your work, you want to be ahead of your competition. So that is something that I try to kind of inculcate in my company culture also. But of course, it's not at the cost of forcing somebody to sit and work on the weekends or late evening. It's actually about making them accountable or responsible, and it is for their good only. Because if they are ahead of their own competition, they are going to feel like a successful recruiter. And it matters a lot. Why? Because we are all humans. I mean, we are sitting right in the middle of the human resource ocean. There are candidates everywhere, there are clients everywhere, there's a team, there's internal team, there's competition, everybody's in the same boat. And if you don't do anything different or if you don't think of being proactive, you will lose an opportunity. So how they want to manage it, it's entirely up to the recruiters. But it is important for them to realize that sometimes they have to do what they wouldn't want to do, but they should kind of make it into their regular practice so that it doesn't feel any burden. Today, if I see any requirement while going back to home, I'll probably either post it if I think that it is worth posting so that we can get the applications by tomorrow morning. So, that may take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but it's worth doing that, right? It's the basic, simple steps. Because see, recruitment is all about being accountable. It's like if you're getting married, you wouldn't just marry somebody like that. You would want to know the person in and out and ensure that okay, there's an alignment, there's a compatibility, there's an understanding, and then probably you would want to go ahead. Similar is with recruitment, with the company and the client. If you keep giving them wrong people, it's going to backfire only, and it's going to backfire very bad because one time it could be a mistake, two times it could be a mistake. If you keep giving the wrong fits, then obviously you will lose that client, you will lose that opportunity. So it's a game of patience. You have to be patient with the process. Recruiter cannot get excited. Oh, I found a candidate. The candidate said yes, I am interested, and okay, I have a submission for the day. No, they have to suppress that excitement. They have to go through the process. They have to grill them, and then if they have to say no, he's not a fit, they need to have that honesty with themselves. Okay, I need to probably find a better candidate because it saves everybody's time then. Otherwise, if you send somebody who's not a fit into the process, then I get involved. Probably the client may get involved if I send the person ahead, if I don't do my due diligence, and then it's wasting everybody's time. And I don't say this only for recruiters, it's for the client side also. Because if you do not send us a clear requirement, or if you don't share the understanding of the requirement or what you want to hire clearly with us, then again it's a waste of time. We send requirements and then the clients, oh, we don't need this, we needed that. Okay, then we need to go back to square one and start again, right?
Yeah. So where do you see Hire Cool 6-12 months from now down the road?
I would say I would have added some big names by then to our client list. That is one. Second, obviously, because if new clients coming, if more clients coming, obviously the team size would also grow. So I am personally focused on growth. So I only see growth. I mean, I wouldn't see anything else but growth. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, but then at the same time, I would want to grow with the current team also. I would want to be a good employer also, because that is very important. And yeah, I mean it's like working in harmony with both clients and with your team, living in peace, because work isn't everything. You have a family also to look after. I have a 3-year-old daughter that I have to look after. So I think, if growth happens, it comes with consistency and everything. Just want to be happy at the end of the day, and not just me earlier with my employees, my clients, everybody.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned the goal with business is growth, right? So you wanna grow the business obviously this year and next year and continue on. And that rapid growth involves, bringing in more clients, maybe expanding the team, expanding their knowledge and their background. So if, what would be holding you back? What would that one thing be that's holding you back from growth in terms of, obtaining new clients and throughout the US, Canada? Is there anything that's holding you back? If you had a magic wand, what would that one thing be?
I think thinking that we are small or there are big staffing companies out there, maybe somewhere in the mind we think that probably this client won't entertain us. So I think that mindset needs to go away, and you need to think positive, and you need to go ahead and still send that message to that client, and not hold back that, oh, why would they entertain us? I think till now we at times have done that. We have like, okay, let's keep them, let's not connect with them at this time, or let's not approach them at this time. um, but I think that needs to go away. You never know who you are dealing with on the other side. Maybe that person gives you opportunity. We see it as a company, but you're actually sending that message to a person. Maybe what if that person actually is involved in, vendor empanelment, or is involved in speaking to candidate? Because I have had few instances where maybe the person was not a decision maker, for vendor empanelment, but the person did take that opportunity to speak with us, to speak with me, to understand what I did, what I'm bringing onto the table, and why. He basically listened to me, he heard me, and then he went to his, vendor empowerment team, and he spoke to them about us. He basically helped us set up a call. I think sometimes you have to take that approach also. You can't just think that this is a person who will let me in. You never know who's going to let you in. I get it. It all.
Yeah.
I leave that hope of, human connections always there, because you never know who can connect you with who. You know, Probably we are on the podcast today, and maybe tomorrow you may have a big client for me. You never know. So, Magic,
Yeah.
if you like this conversation,
Yeah, yeah, it's a good conversation for sure. Thank you so much for being here, Sheena. So, do you think this is a industry-wide issue, or is it just unique to your company and to your business?
I won't say it is unique to my company, but it may exist within the companies that are of our size, or maybe somewhere around our size, because we don't have really a huge sales team, for that matter. When you have 10 different people, 10 different minds are working, so obviously, the hit ratio is high. Be- see, why do people hire in the first place? Why do companies hire? Of course, there are projects, there is work, but then also they would want to have that diversity, also that they would have smart minds, and it's not just one mind, it could be a team. They say that you become an entrepreneur not to be self-employed, but to get the work done, and you get the work done
Right.
through the best people. So I think, to move from this stage where we are to the next stage, we may want to hire some smart people also, smarter than the founders, who can actually add more value to the business for the
Yeah.
business growth. The recruitment team is one aspect, but there has to be a sales team also. So I think someone can do this job better than me in terms of getting more clients. So if I see that potential in someone, then obviously I should bring that person on board. So I think that hesitance somewhere has always so far been there, but now this year we are like thinking that if we sit tight and just in our comfort zone, things will not move on their own, right? You
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
step up. You have to take some risk. Could be financial, could be some financial strategies you would have to implement. So there are things that are running at the back end. The conversations are happening and uh, plan is getting chalked out. So and yes, 2026 is for growth, is what we believe in.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a good year for both of us. Well, Sheena, I really appreciate your time. Thank you for sharing your insights and background and behind the scenes, in terms of your company at hirecool.com. So, for those of you who want to check out Sheena, she is actually on LinkedIn, and I'll put her credentials in the description below. You can actually check out her website, which is hirecool.com. Thank you for joining us, Sheena, on the Growth Experts podcast.
Thank you, Dari. Thank you so much.